Hi, welcome to Senior Moment Successful Aging. I'm your host, Mary Beals-Luedtka. I'm the director for the Area Agency on Aging at NACOG. Senior Moment Successful Aging is co-produced by the Division of Lifelong Learning at Yavapai College and the Area Agency on Aging, NACOG. Our co-producers are Connie Varga from the Division of Lifelong Learning and Allie Bateman from Area Agency on Aging, NACOG. You can reach Allie toll-free at 877-521-3500, or you could reach Connie at 928-717-7755. They'd love to hear from you. Maybe you have suggestions about something you'd like us to talk about in the future, or questions about today's show, or just comments in general. Please give us a call. So I would like to introduce my guest, someone who I know very well, someone from my management team, Brandon Baxter. Hi, Brandon.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
You wore my favorite color.
Well, thank you.
I love pink. So, Brandon, you are my manager for the programs at the Area Agency on Aging.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's skip away from Area Agency on Aging a little bit and talk about you, Brandon.
Yes.
And so, where did you come from?
Well, my background in aging began in in-home care, non-medical in-home care, as a caregiver for people who are homebound, either disabled or seniors, and I would provide that personal hands-on care and assistance that they needed in the home. I fell in love with it so much that I wanted to find a way to make it my profession, and it's been a wonderful experience and journey, and I've been blessed enough to find myself here doing exactly what I wanted to do, helping seniors and family caregivers of those seniors navigate the challenges of aging.
You know, and I think that's, a big subject that we've been talking about here on the show as well, is the family caregiver component. And I know when I first brought you on board at the Area Agency on Aging, our family caregiver program needed a lot of work, and you're the one that took that and really molded it for the future.
Well, it's a wonderful program, and as you well know, there are 64 million family caregivers in the United States of America providing countless hours of unpaid care to their loved ones. As a matter of fact, in the state of Arizona last year, family caregivers provided $9 billion worth of unpaid care to keep their loved ones healthy, active, and engaged in the community. So we know there's a huge burden placed on family caregivers.
So then I have to put in a little plug. So when they talk about being fiscally responsible, and we talk about using government money wisely, when the government funds these programs through the Area Agency on Aging, we take them and help save billions of dollars that otherwise would have to be put into care.
You're absolutely right.
I have to put that in there. I just got to put that in there. So you're also in charge of all the programs, really, at the Area Agency on Aging. Why don't you name a few of those?
Well, many of our programs are fantastic for our seniors and disabled populations. We did touch base on the Family Caregiver Program, but we also have the Medicaid and Public Benefits Program, which is fantastic for seniors as we try to navigate the complexities of public benefits, of Medicaid, and everything, and Medicare, and everything that's associated with those benefit programs. It can be very confusing, and that's why I would always recommend calling the toll-free number that you had mentioned earlier, 877-521-3500, and touching base with our Medicare benefits counselors and setting up a time to maybe do a benefit review to see if your plan is best for your needs, or if there might be a plan out there that would actually save you a tremendous amount of money.
And when you talk about benefits, it's not just Medicare, is it?
It's not. It's not. There are a large portion of benefits available to the populations we serve, and oftentimes it's just we don't know that those programs are out there and available to us.
And we want to make sure that folks know that they're there, And I think one of the things that I see, and I know you see it too, is that folks are very proud.
Yes.
And they think, oh, it's welfare. It's not welfare.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, your hard work has paid for these programs. It's your investment in the economy that has actually paid for all of these programs. So you're just utilizing supports and services that you have years and years ago already paid for. It's just another tool that you happen to have in your tool shed.
And we're going to talk about tools in a minute, but I know something about you. Well, first of all, you're a daddy.
I'm a father of 3 beautiful little girls and a husband
that.
of a wonderful wife.
I love that because I know you talk about your little girls a lot, and I know you're very proud of your daughters. And they're pretty small yet, though.
Well, I do. I have a 1-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So it's been a fantastic journey watching them age and helping it affect my perspective as well as the entire continuum of care from the beginning of the life cycle all the way through the end. There are so many commonalities between the needs of the youth and the needs of the aging.
And you have it right there at home because you're a caregiver.
I am a family caregiver for my mother as well, so I get to see what that caregiving hat looks like when you have the daddy caregiving hat on and when you have the caregiver of an adult parent in the home as well, because the dynamics change there for the relationship that you have with your wife and your kids, as well as the dynamics with being a child caring for a parent.
Yeah, you know, because you still have to show respect for your mother. You know, now she is somewhat independent still.
Yes, I'm very fortunate. She's cognitively brilliant, so I do not have those cognitive impairment issues. It's more physical impairments. So there are challenges involved with cognitive impairments, there are challenges involved with physical impairments, and we're very fortunate to have that family caregiver program at the Area Agency on Aging that can provide support and training to family caregivers on how to effectively care for the physical ailments that our loved one has through our ADL, or Activity of Daily Living workshops.
So, you know, when we're talking about independence, and you know, let's go back to tools, because one of the things I want you to address today with our listeners is some of the tools that are available to them. And I know that a lot of folks call up and say, well, I'm a caregiver, I live in Iowa, and my mom's there in Prescott, and I'm worried about her. She's not ready for institutionalization. What is a tool that might help me?
Well, that's a very common issue with long distance caregiving and families being spread across the entire country. So one of the tools that I'm really excited about is the CareNect program, which is a medical alarm program that we at the Area Agency on Aging have in partnership with the National Association of Area Agencies on Aging. And we've been able to bring a low cost, wonderfully powerful medical alarm system to the individuals who need these in their home, whether because it gives them a little bit of peace of mind, or maybe it gives the family members peace of mind as well, because they may be in a different state and unable to check on mom and dad or their loved ones from time to time. This piece of technology really does go a long way in increasing safety, keeping your loved one independent and in their home, which is typically what the goal is to keep them engaged in the community as long as possible. But it also provides peace of mind and comfort with that safety that it allows you to have.
I know that as a young person, and this is just an analogy, as a young person in my late 20s, I had a major surgery. I had to go back to this big old house by myself, and I was on medication, and I got paranoid. I mean, I remember, like, okay, I have to look out the windows before I go upstairs, and it got scary for me, you know. And so how can the tool help with things like that?
And it's perfect for that. Oftentimes we find when seniors begin to have balance issues, or maybe have had an unexpected fall, they'll get scared.
Yeah.
And it'll impact their willingness to be physically active.
Yeah.
They'll socially isolate. They'll stop walking as much. They'll stop going out in the community. They'll sit in one place for a long time, and that is not what we want, because it causes a decrease in that muscle mass and it causes a loss of balance. So therefore, you're probably more likely to have falls moving forward if we do that. But if we're able to bring this CareNect medical alarm system into the home that provides that peace of mind, that helps bring down that anxiety and fear of a fall, well, now we have that individual who is active. We have that individual who is still walking, who is still engaged in the community, and keeping their strength, mobility, and balance up, which will keep them independent much longer.
So it kind of helps build confidence a little bit.
Absolutely.
So how does it do that?
Well, what it is there are multiple systems. If you have...
Let's start with the basic.
Let's say you have a basic telephone line that plugs into the jack on the wall. We have a system that plugs right into the wall, and you can either wear a wristband watch pendant or a necklace pendant. And the pendant is water resistant. It's meant to be worn in the tub, in the bath, around water. So you leave it on, you don't take it off, because When you take it off in those wet environments is oftentimes when you'll have a fall.
Yeah.
So you have that pendant, and you can press that if you're not feeling well. You can press it if you have a fall and you need assistance. You can press it if you want to talk to somebody because you're socially isolated and you're feeling lonely and you need to stay active and engaged to keep your mind sharp. This is not just for emergencies, it's also for socialization as well if you or your loved one is isolated.
So I can press it if I'm scared?
Absolutely. I would suggest that you press it anytime you feel concerned. And a great example of this is one of our clients just a few years ago woke up and was feeling anxious and scared and did not know why. So the individual pressed the alarm button. Well, paramedics arrived and found that he was actually having a major cardiac emergency.
Wow.
And that was the anxiety that he was feeling, was actually his heart attack. And so they transported him to the hospital, intervened medically, saved his life. And they told him, the EMS told him, had you not woken up and pressed this button, you may not have survived this. So absolutely, if you feel fear, you feel anxious, you feel something's just not right, please, by all means, listen to your instinct and press the button.
Or if you need anything, it's like, oh, I don't know where to go, I'm out of food.
Perfect, I'm out of food. Press the button. Now we can go ahead and contact your personal contacts and go ahead and bring those services to bear. Maybe it's your case manager that can be contacted and they can make sure we can get a food box over to you to make sure you're not insecure with your food.
So it's very individualized.
It is. We can customize it to your own needs and your own wants. If you only want a couple of people contacted, you get to choose those people.
Okay.
If you change your mind and you decide you want to change your contacts, you just let us know and we change your contacts. And the great part about this system, Mary, is it's month to month. So it can be great for short-term hospital discharge while you're getting your strength back, or more long-term as well, but without the fear of being locked into a long-term commitment.
So there's no contract?
Correct.
Because that's one of the things I get folks that call is that, hey, I got stuck in this contract with a company and I don't need this anymore and I can't get out of it. And I look at the contract, I'm like, well, sorry, I really can't help you.
It does happen a lot more frequently than I think people realize, is that they will sign up for this. They may not realize that it's a 1 or 2 year contract to lock in that low rate. And then let's say your loved one only needs it for a handful of months and now you're on the hook for a year plus for continuing payments for a system you really have no more use for. That's discouraging and part of the reason why we were really excited to roll this program out without those limitations.
So when I press the button, do I hear about a person?
So you will hear somebody come over the box and they have the ability to turn the speaker up louder or make it quieter. So they will talk to you and they will say, hello, Mrs. Jones, is there an emergency? And if you say, no, I'm just testing my system, then they'll say, great, we'll hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much. Please don't hesitate to give us a call. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But now let's say you do need some assistance, and let's say you've fallen, but you're not injured, and you know that your neighbor has a key. Well, and he's one of your contacts. You can tell them, yes, I've fallen, but could you call George, my neighbor, and George has a key, and have him come over and help me up? Well, they will contact George, and George will come over and help you up off the ground. Well, now we didn't have to bring emergency medical resources to bear. We were able to solve that problem with a neighbor.
Yeah, we had one, I'm remembering the lady in the shed.
Yes.
So we had a lady on a windy day. She had gotten discharged from the hospital and she was feeling good. So she went out in the backyard and she went into the shed to get something and the wind blew the door shut and she couldn't get out. So she pressed her button and they contacted her neighbor and her neighbor came over and got her out.
That's right.
Yeah, and so it was like, so I think that's another unique thing about this system. It has 1,000-foot radius.
It does. It has a wonderful range,
Yeah.
1,000-foot range in line of sight from the pendant to the box. So that's a significant distance, and it really did save the life of one of our clients here a few years ago who had gone outside to get an armful of firewood during the winter and had slipped and fallen and was about 600 feet from her house when she fell. She pressed the button not knowing if the alarm would go off because she was outside and the alarm was inside. She couldn't even tell if it had worked. However, when they came over the loudspeaker and asked if she was okay and they heard nothing,
They came.
They came. They
Yeah.
dispatched emergency medical personnel who found her lying down on the ground outside as
In the
sun
snow.
was falling in the snow.
Oh my God.
And got her back into the house and safe. So it's kind of like insurance. You hope you never need it. But that one time that you do, you're so grateful that you had it.
Well, I think it's really cool that you actually have a person that can talk to you. Again, I think you know, the other thing is, I think you could press it 50 times a day and it has no bearing on the price.
Correct.
At all.
There's no limit on how many times you want to press it.
Right.
You want to press it and talk all day long, you can press it and talk.
So, okay, there's a call center.
There is. There's
right.
2.
Okay, that was my question. So if there's a call center, what if there's a disaster?
Well, that's fantastic. Their primary call center is in Michigan.
Okay.
Let's say there's a weather-related emergency that puts the Michigan call center offline. There's a backup call center in Massachusetts that will go online at that point in time and pick up the calls. So both call centers are domestic. So it will be answered in a timely manner locally, and that's very encouraging for people to know that there's backup there. Should something go wrong, there's another call center here locally in the United States of America that will be able to go online and take those calls.
Let's go back to that personal piece. So when they sign up, they have to fill out paperwork that then they talk about what they want done when they push the button.
Absolutely. So it gives you different scenarios. If this is a question about your day-to-day care, who would you like us to contact?
If this is a non-medical emergency, who would you like us to contact? If this is a medical emergency. So you really do get a lot of say in how and who is contacted in what situation.
And you don't have to be an area agency and aging client.
Not at all.
No.
This is available to anybody in our community.
Right. And we also do provide this to our low-income seniors free of charge.
Yes.
And the reason we're able to do that is because of this program.
Absolutely. It's been a fantastic program in that we've been able to get many of these systems out into the homes of individuals who had dire need but no financial means to pay for the system. So those that have had the financial means to pay the very small monthly monitoring fee have actually helped us be able to put systems into the home for very, very needy and homebound seniors.
You know, because that's one of our biggest worries is those people that are isolated and lonely. And we've talked about that before on this show, how much isolation plays a factor in our health. And if we can do anything to help with that isolation, this is another tool in our box.
It is.
You know, to help with that. And that's just the basic system.
That is.
You know, so then there's upgrades.
There are. You can really, the sky's the limit on this. Let's say, for instance, that you're quite a walker and you love to move and you're out and about all the time and you think, well, that's great, 1,000-foot range and all, but I'm rarely within 1,000 feet of my house when I'm out and about. Well, there are systems that go everywhere with you that operate very much like a little mini cellular phone, like those two-way radios. Can you hear me now? And they talk directly into the pendant, and the call center will talk directly back over your pendant to you as well.
Wow.
So that's the fantastic part, is they're able to geolocate you and find out where you are. Let's say, for instance, you have a loved one who is beginning to have a cognitive decline, and they're still incredibly physically active, but maybe now they're having difficulty finding their way back to the home, and this never used to be an issue before. And now you're concerned that there may be a problem. Nighttime's coming, or it's 110 degrees outside. You want to make sure your loved one is returned safely back to the home environment. This allows you the peace of mind to still allow them to have their physical independence, but then know that should they get lost, there is a way to return them
This
home.
kind of goes along with that whole medical home concept.
Yes.
You know, being able to monitor, you know, from afar and being able to assist from afar so that people have their independence. Because I know a lot of clients, and I think about myself, I don't want to go live with my kids. I don't want my kids to have to take care of me. I want to have as much independence as I can. So I'm thinking about my, you know, my watch. I could talk on my watch. So it's kind of the same thing.
Very similar concept.
Yeah.
Very similar concept. It still communicates off of the cellular tower, and then it still sends that signal out.
And isn't there also a function that detects falls?
There is, yes. So Both of those systems, the landline system and the GPS-enabled system that goes around with you, have the ability to have fall detection, automatic fall detection. So if you have an individual that is actually having unconscious falls to where they're passing out and hitting the ground, and this is a major concern, obviously, for a lot of reasons, then this may be something you want to consider, because the pendant picks up the motion of the fall and the lack of movement after the fall, and it alerts that there's been a fall, even without that individual pressing the button.
Wow. That's just amazing to me.
And it's impressive technology. I myself was a little confused by it when it first rolled out, and I thought, well, how do we know this really works? And then I had a client say the same question. How do we know this really works?
Yeah.
And he threw the pendant over onto the couch. And I was trying to explain to him, well, this is how the technology works. And then all of a sudden, it went off. Because he had thrown the pendant onto the couch, it registered a fall. And then they were talking to us over the system, and I thought, what a perfect demonstration of how it works.
Now you know how to demonstrate it, right?
That's right.
Right. So, and there's also some other things called, don't we have medication management?
We have medication management systems as well. We do find that sometimes people are completely physically independent in the home, outside of the fact that there seems to be some problems with managing the medication appropriately, either over-medicating or under-medicating, which oftentimes will result in a hospitalization.
Yeah.
So when that, or if that is occurring, we do have the automatic medication dispensing machines, which you or your loved one would load with all your medications and very easily set up your program to dispense the meds at certain times, if you have AM doses and PM doses, for instance, and then it'll alert you and beep at you to let you know it's time to take your medicine. Well, at that point, you have to slide back the slot and take the pills out before that beeping will go away. If you do not, it will contact the monitoring center and let the monitoring center know that the medication has not been taken, at which point in time they will contact your personal contacts and let them know maybe it's time for a little reminder call. Mom, Dad, it's time for your medication. This way we can try to overcome those preventable hospitalizations that are just a result of, sometimes it's hard to remember. Did I take those before breakfast? Did I not?
That would be me. I'm so busy, and you know how you automatically do things, and I have vitamins and supplements that I take, so I set them out for the week. So I remember, did I take those this morning? Oh yeah, and I even do that. So that would be a great thing for somebody at home to help manage that. And medication mismanagement is responsible for a lot of hospitalizations and medical problems that our seniors have. And this would be a great tool to use.
Fantastic tool. And it's all about eliminating or reducing the preventable hospitalizations. If we can bring those numbers down, we will increase the longevity and the overall health of your loved one. Hospitals are great places when you are ill or injured. They're not great places to be if you're ill and injured. There are lots of other germs floating around in the hospital. So if we can keep you out of that environment by eliminating these preventable hospitalizations, it's going to go a long way to giving you a higher quality of life.
And keep you healthier.
Absolutely.
I mean, so you want to be healthier. And that makes me think of our medication management program, the opioid grant that we have.
Absolutely.
Which is also one of our programs.
Well, and the RX Matters program is fantastic for that. We know that there is an opioid crisis nationwide right now, and we know a lot of that has to do with a couple of things, either A, mismanagement of the medications, or B, unsecured medications that are accessible to those who do not have that prescription. So the RX Matters program is fantastic about going into the home and working with the individuals, identifying what some of the risks are with the medications, identifying what successful ways of taking the medications are, and also helping you come up with a strategy to make sure those medications are secure in your home, so you're not, so to speak, dangling a carrot out there for those who would take those medications without a prescription.
And also we have our older clients that are taking too much of their medication.
Yes.
They might be on a pain medication and wow, that made me feel better, so I think I'll take 2.
Correct.
And now they're overdosing.
Absolutely
and
right.
then they take more. And there's a staggering amount of deaths in Arizona from overdose.
Yes, and it's sad because you're talking about chronic and debilitating pain.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to get a handle on that chronic and debilitating pain. So one pill can become two, which can become three. And that's what part of this program is really the educational component of what does the medication do to you and what are the negative impacts of over-medicating myself if I do this. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we just see that we can prevent a lot of these preventable overdose deaths, accidental overdose deaths, by just giving them the knowledge that if we continue down this path, poor results typically occur.
Typically are going to occur. Not only that, when they say don't mix with alcohol, they really mean it.
They do.
And so you do see an awful lot of self-medication.
Yes.
And we do address that in the program, you know, and talk about that, you know, and there you go, another tool.
Correct.
You know, and if those of you that are listening, think about, you know, your loved ones, think about your neighbors, your friends, who might benefit from some of these tools that we have at the Area Agency on Aging. And, you know, call that toll-free number. Sometimes folks call the toll-free number, and we have Nathan and Dion answering the phone, and you're not quite sure what you need, but they'll help you sort that out.
And that's right, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I would say probably 9 times out of 10 when individuals call that toll-free number, they know they need some assistance, but they're really not quite sure what that assistance would look like if they received it. And that's great because we can help you navigate that. We can ask questions to find out where you are, what your situation is, because every situation is different and every need is unique.
Yeah.
So we really can take the time to screen and find out what of our many programs, supports, and services we can bring to bear to help keep you active and engaged and independent.
And so let's talk about what's the definition of caregiver, because I think folks don't identify themselves as one when they should.
You're absolutely right. And I think one of the biggest problems we have in our country is the lack of self-identification as a caregiver.
Yeah.
People will often say, well, I'm not a caregiver, I'm just helping my spouse. Or I'm not a caregiver, I'm just helping my mom or dad. And the reality is, you're a caregiver even if you were that individual who lives out of state, but you're helping manage some aspect of their daily living, whether it be finances, whether it be medical appointment follow-up, whether it be just making sure you're keeping your loved one engaged by communicating with them on a regular basis.
You are a part of the continuum of care. You
Yes.
are a family caregiver. And we have supports and services to help not only your loved one, but help you as well remain healthy, active, and engaged. Because a lot of family caregivers will give themselves zero ability to care for themselves day in and day out.
And that's why they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first so you can help everybody else.
The flight attendants
Brandon,
are right.
you all, as always, you have so much knowledge in your head. And if you want Brandon to speak for you, call us toll free at 877-521-3500. Brandon, thank you again. Brandon Baxter, thank you for joining us on Senior Moment. Successful Aging. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka. Until next time.